Inside the Magic, show number 491 for August 31st, 2014. It is Sunday, August 31st, 2014. This is show 491 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti, with another fine show filled with Disney and theme park news and plenty more fun. And before we get to all of it, I invite you to visit our website at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, or anything that you want to send in, you can do so by emailing me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Want to travel this fall? Well, you can save up to 30% on rooms at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels for most nights, October 4th through December 23rd. But you're going to want to hurry and book now for the best availability because the offer ends October 3rd. You can book all of that by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And when you do that, be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive a free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And of course, thanks very much to all contributors to this show, whether you're making a one-time donation or a recurring donation. Both options are available over at InsideTheMagic.net. Just scroll down a little bit on the left side, you'll find it. And I thank all of you for your support. And now, let's get started with a trip around the world. Well, it's been an interesting week in news. The music that you're hearing right now may clue you in as to one of the top stories this week. Before I get to that, though, I just do want to make a quick mention that over on our Inside the Magic Facebook page, we did reach 300,000 likes. So thanks very much to all of you who are following us on there to, stay up to date with all the latest real-time updates throughout the week, fun photos and videos and whatnot. If you aren't following us or liking us on Facebook already, just head to facebook.com/InsideTheMagic and, click the little like button and there you go. So thanks to the hundreds of thousands of you who are following us over there. So back to this music. Walt Disney World this week has announced major entertainment changes for Epcot's World Showcase, replacing several long-running acts with some new ones. And the one that you're hearing in the background right now, very popular act from Canada, Off Kilter, going away. Very, very soon. Within the next few weeks, Off Kilter will no longer perform at Epcot, period. Not at all. Mo Rockin', in the Morocco area, of course, also not going to be performing at Epcot any longer. The Spirit of America, Fife and Drum Corps in the America area, naturally, and the World Showcase Players as well, also going away. In their place, Disney has announced, sort of vaguely announced, some of the replacement acts that'll be there. They said there will be a lumberjack-inspired show for Canada instead of Off Kilter, a Berber music and dance troupe from Morocco, a corps of flag-waving performers in Italy, and a Celtic folk music group at the United Kingdom. They have said the British Revolution will stay as well, so I guess there'll be two separate musical acts in the United Kingdom. So, of course, Off Kilter, is a band that you can buy their CDs, visit their website. I doubt they're going to disband after leaving Disney. It just seems they will no longer be part of that entertainment. The exact date for when they will be leaving the park is near the end of September, so you got a few weeks to get out there and see them one last time, all of these acts. But yeah, they are going away, whether you like it or not. The long-standing entertainment options that have been in Epcot, and we'll continue to play a little off-kilter music here in honor of their soon-to-be disappearance. Other music-related changes over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The American Idol experience now closed this weekend. That's it. It is also gone. Signs have been removed already. might as well have not existed at all. Disney's left with an excellent theater, however. The upgraded theater that Disney put together for the American Idol experience. Great lighting, great sound. I look forward to seeing what will go there in the future. Can't imagine anyone's too sad about the American Idol experience going away. But yeah, it's gone. See ya. Moving away from closures, sort of looking ahead to some news that's been making its way around the internet this week. Disney recently filed a patent for entertainment based on drones, if you want to call them that. Sort of remote-controlled flying vehicles that can be used, computer programmed or manually controlled and used in unmanned, I guess, vehicles, small, and can be used together in mass numbers to choreograph things. And even Disney's patent, it, of course, is not on drones. Those have been used all over the place, but the patent is specifically in order to attach a display system to these drones so that they could all link up and sync up and display something in the air. Could be very interesting for shows. They're calling this system floating pixels or flixels, and it could display all kinds of images and colors, and you can imagine digital fireworks basically, or anything else that you could possibly put up there. World of color in the sky, essentially. Could be pretty interesting. Of course, it is just a patent for now. Disney files a lot of patents, a lot of research and development at Walt Disney Imagineering, so we may never see this at all. It might just be for a one-time special event, like the Fantasyland Dragon was. That certainly had some patents. Or it might be something bigger. Who knows? We will just wait and see if that ever, comes out to be anything at all. And here is something that is returning to the parks. Years ago, Disney sold a line of merchandise for pets, and then it went away, and pet owners were wondering what happened. When are we going to get pet products? Well, now it's happening again. It is the Disney Tales line of merchandise. It is coming spring 2015 to Disneyland and Walt Disney World. At first, it will be for dogs only, and Disney hasn't really said what their plans are after that. It most likely depends on how well that sells. But the Disney Tales line will initially include a chew toy shaped like a Mickey ice cream bar, and the quirkiest of the small amount that they've shown off, a bow tie for dogs that is themed to the Haunted Mansion. It has the Haunted Mansion wallpaper pattern on it. That sounds interesting. I don't have a dog, but I'm probably going to have to get that anyway, and if it fits around my neck, maybe I'll wear it. Who knows? But that is coming spring 2015. Speaking of the Haunted Mansion, of course, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is coming up, well, tomorrow already. Yes, September 1st is the first Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom. And this year there are some changes that I recently talked about, some minor stuff, but some big stuff that Disney just recently announced. Something called Mayhem at the Mansion is going to take place at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. It is a virtual, use the word experience very loosely. You basically download an app that's already available in the iTunes store, and you'll follow along on the map for the event and find spots in the park where you can quote-unquote capture the 3 hitchhiking ghosts that have escaped the mansion, hitchhiked their way out, and by using your phone, you'll be able to snap a picture and grab them, and then you're supposed to bring them back to the mansion to redeposit them there. How exactly it will all work remains to be seen, but it seems like it'll just be kind of a QR code, or rather a similar to the Aurasma things that they've been using recently in the parks, where there's a picture up on a wall and you just aim your app at that and it'll identify it and do a little animation on your phone, and etc., etc. So you can find out more information about that and links to download over on our website. But the bigger announcement, and this one is quite the polarizing announcement as well, for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which of course is a separately ticketed, hard-ticketed event. Your normal everyday admission into the park does not include that. You have to buy this extra ticket, making it a private party of sorts. Well, now there's going to be a private party within the private party. It's called the Villains Sinister Soiree, a wicked takeover of Cinderella Castle. And it's an extra fee on top of the cost of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So let's say you pay $60-$70 for a ticket to Not So Scary, depending on the night. Then, in addition to that, you are going to have to pay another fee And, well, what would be a reasonable fee for having a dessert party and special character meeting within Not So Scary? Maybe you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'll pay 10 extra bucks, 20 bucks, maybe. No. $99 a person for this extra experience within Not So Scary. It takes place within Cinderella's royal table inside the castle, and Cinderella Castle, of course, and it will feature Lady Tremaine and friends of Cinderella and all of that. Desserts, entertainment. They're calling it an upscale villainous atmosphere featuring a piano player, and Lady Tremaine herself will be singing. So again, that's $99. Included in that, in addition to the dessert, you also get a preferred viewing spot for the 8:15 performance of the Boo to You parade, as well as the fireworks, and an autograph card for the characters that will be there, and a souvenir Maleficent Dragon Cup. If you feel like that's worth $99, you can call 407-939-5262 to make your reservation. Also related to Halloween, the Walt Disney World Annual Pass Holder newsletter showed up this week, the latest one, and it featured a little bit of a quote-unquote tour of the Haunted Mansion with some sort of little fun hidden details throughout the attraction, but it also pointed everyone to the Annual Pass Holder website to download some Haunted Mansion ghost pumpkin carving stencils for Halloween 2 months from now. So I posted those over on our Facebook page as well, so if you want to prepare for some pumpkin carving and you want to get the hitchhiking ghosts or even the Hatbox ghost on there in a kind of cartoony stylized style, then head over there to download those. And speaking of Halloween, though, moving outside of Disney over to Universal Orlando this week, the full final reveal was made for Halloween Horror Nights this year. They had previously talked about everything except for one final haunted house announcement. Of course, we already kind of knew what it was because it leaked about a month and a half ago, but it's Halloween, as in the Michael Myers original 1978 classic slasher film Halloween that is being built on the park's backlot, and you'll be able to explore the terrors within. And so if you want to see a full roundup of everything that's going to be at Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights this year, head over to our website. It's got all in one big handy dandy post. You can flip through the haunted houses, the scare zones, the shows, read about them, and see their new logos for each of the houses that were also released this week. And for even more from Halloween Horror Nights, not too long from now, 1 week after Not So Scary begins at Universal Orlando, September 8th is when I will be attending a media preview of Halloween Horror Nights, including a look at the props and makeup and costumes and even a tour of one of the haunted houses. So obviously I'm really looking forward to that, and I will bring it all to you from the scene and thereafter. So just over a week. Stay tuned for that. One more note here about Halloween Horror Nights. Also, when the full reveal happened, reservations became available for one of my favorite parts of Halloween Horror Nights this year, is the Unmasking the Horror tours. And I always want to bring this up every single year, especially for those of you who are not fans of spooky stuff and Halloween and gore and violence and all of that, because there is so much artistry that goes into the construction of these haunted houses. And if you can, look past the scares while it's going on, you can really see the tremendous amount of detail that is put into them. Well, not everybody can look past that, so these Unmasking the Horror tours are a fantastic way to walk through the haunted houses 6 out of the 8 during the day with no scares, no music, no sound effects, just not even the show lighting. It's just house lighting, and you're guaranteed not to get scared. You just get to walk through in a very slow pace, take a lot of photos, and simply take it all in and really see what goes into this. It's a great opportunity for those who are curious about what these experiences look like to check it out, but without actually being scared at all. So I have, as I do every year, booked the very first available day of that, which is September 20th this year. There's actually a morning and an afternoon session. Each one takes you into a different set of 3 haunted houses, 6 total. So I'll be at both. And if you plan on doing the same on September 20th, when you call to make your reservation, and you can find out the phone number over on the Halloween Horror Nights website in the RIP Tours section. If you call and and I think it's a group of up to 15 people at a time. So if you want to attempt to be in the group with me, I'll be snapping away a whole lot of photos. You can call up and mention that you'd like to be included in my group, and I don't know how well that'll go if too many people call and do that, but it's worth a shot. So I'll be there September 20th, and we can have some fun just casually walking through those houses. And completely away from that, let's turn to Frozen here for a few stories. Number one is only vaguely related to Frozen. Of course, this Ice Bucket Challenge has been going around online for quite a few days now to benefit ALS research and hopefully finding a cure from that. And The Simpsons got in on the action a couple of days ago with Homer Simpson doing his own Ice Bucket Challenge, animated, of course. And amidst the chaos that ensued in that was a quick appearance of Olaf, of course, the snowman from Frozen. So you definitely want to check that out if you haven't seen it. And more Frozen here. Once Upon a Time Season 4 is going to debut near the end of September, but just today, Disney and ABC put out the first video teaser, publicly available online, showing a bit of Elsa and some of the other characters reacting to her as she's sort of cooling down Storybrooke a bit. So if you want to see that video, head over to our website. And even sooner than that, this coming Tuesday, September 2nd, 8 p.m. on ABC, you're going to want to set your DVRs. It is The Story of Frozen, Making a Disney Animated Classic. This is essentially the bonus feature that probably should have been included on the Blu-ray, and I have a feeling on the super-duper special mega Frozen awesome diamond edition of the Blu-ray that'll eventually come out. It'll probably be on that, but it's going to be aired on ABC once again, September 2nd, this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Don't miss it. In the world of movies, this year there is no new Pixar film, which has been kind of a rarity over the last decade or so, but everybody's already looking ahead to next year, which Inside Out is going to be released, and this week Disney and Pixar gave everybody a first look at the upcoming short that'll play ahead of Inside Out in theaters. The short is called Lava, and they describe it as being inspired by the isolated beauty of tropical islands and the explosive allure of ocean volcanoes. It's a musical love story that takes place over millions of years. Kind of quirky, kind of interesting. The short clip that was available, this is a short clip of a short film. You can see that on our YouTube channel and on our website, and it's pretty short, but it's got some singing, a singing, smiling volcano, and it seems like it'll be fun. It's different, for sure. And speaking of short films, Walt Disney Animation Studios this week also revealed the first publicly available images outside of special screenings of the upcoming short Feast that will play in theaters in front of Big Hero 6. You can see the dog that is the star of Feast. His name is Winston. And if you want to see those, head over to our website as well. And one final bit of news here is not quite Disney news, though it is related from the world of cruise ships. Of course, Disney, Walt Disney World, fairly recently rolled out its magic bands to help with all kinds of things around the parks. And there's also a similar system aboard Disney Cruise Line for the Oceaneers Club for kids, essentially magic bands there. Well, now Royal Caribbean announced in its upcoming Quantum of the Seas cruise ship that they're going to feature the WOW Band, which is essentially the magic bands, and it's not like Disney has been the first people to do RFID wristbands by any means, but a very similar system. The WOW bands aboard this Royal Caribbean ship will give you access to make purchases, get around the ship, act as a room key, etc., etc. So interesting to see another cruise line adding that as well. There's a whole lot of other high-tech additions that are going to that Quantum of the Seas ship. Definitely a competitor of Disney's. If you want to read more about those, you can head over to our website as well. And that will do it for your news from around the world this week. This week's tip comes in from Alicia, who writes, if you're on the Disney dining plan and you don't have enough room for dessert at a meal, instead grab one of those Mickey Mouse Rice Krispie Treats if they're available at a restaurant. You go to a quick service dining restaurant as your dessert. That way you can save them for later in the trip, or even save them for even longer and put them in your kid's Easter basket, or bring to family as souvenirs. Either way, it's a takeaway dessert that you don't have to eat right away. Alicia, great tip there, and your mentioning of desserts actually reminded me, I should have said this during the news a bit earlier, the Pineapple Lanai did open this week over at Disney's Polynesian, serving up the Dole Whips, no longer self-serve, but it is still an option there with some available seating as well. But anyway, great tip about the Rice Krispie Treats, certainly. Everybody else, please email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net.
Inside the Magic proudly presents a restaurant review.
Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest.
Let's talk barbecue, specifically American Q. It's a new Walt Disney World restaurant, though not from Disney. It has opened on Walt Disney World property at the B Resort Orlando. And you might remember me mentioning the B Resort. You might be thinking, what the heck is a B Resort? Well, it's taken over for a previous hotel in the downtown Disney area. It's definitely within walking distance of downtown Disney, maybe 5 or 10 minutes down the road, if in probably 5 minutes. Very easy to get to. Of course, bus service is available as well, and you can go there and park if you do have a car. Once you go inside the hotel, you don't have to be a hotel guest by any means in order to go to the American Q restaurant that recently opened there. You just walk into the lobby, hang a right, and there it is. Very, very easy to get to. And it is one heck of a restaurant. I'm looking forward to going back. I went once just a few days ago, and I've already got plans to go back in the very near future because it is simply delicious. It's kind of a mashup of several concepts. It's barbecue, and it's got a little bit of a farm western flair to it, but it's definitely not Frontierland style. It's a kind of a modern twist on barbecue, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not classic barbecue flavors, but there's still yet another sort of mashup-y twist on this. You know those Brazilian steakhouses like Texas de Brazil, where they come around and just kind of keep bringing the meat over and over and over until you absolutely can't take it anymore, and it's simply delicious? Well, apply that to American barbecue style instead of the Brazilian flavors, and that is American Q in a nutshell. And actually, there are two different menu options there. It is either the buffet option, which is what I just described, and that's $35 a head if you have kids that are, and they don't actually go by age, they go by height. Much they kind of wanted to mirror how Disney does it with the height restrictions on various rides. So they've got a stack of chickens on artwork near the front of the restaurant, and if you are 7 chickens or less in height, it doesn't really matter what age you are actually, then you get the buffet for half price. If you're above 7 chickens, then you have to pay full price. But either way, $35 for unlimited meats that come around, as well as a great buffet of side dishes, is not a bad price at all. But in addition to all of that, there's also a la carte menu where you can order individual items and individual sides, so it just depends on what you are in the mood for. And that it probably would be a little bit less expensive if you did the a la carte, and you wouldn't end up with meat coma afterwards in the best way possible. But let me talk about the food a little bit here. It is wonderfully delicious. The chef Justin Leo, he came over from Coronado Springs, where we worked there for a while. He was at Bonnet Creek as well. Before that, he was up in New York doing various developing menus for a few casinos. He said he's been all over, has a pretty extensive background. Now he's been hard at work at developing this really unique, excellent menu for American Q. It is definitely sort of at its most basic form, traditional barbecue flavors, but this is definitely elevated. It's a little bit more contemporary take on the flavors, a lot more sort of intricate use of spices, great open flame type grilling with some rotisseries as well. Even the side dishes are kind of simple if you just look at it and you think about it, it's like, oh, it's corn on the cob, it's mac and cheese, it's potato salad. You think, oh yeah, I've had that before, but no, you haven't had it like this. He's taking really simple concepts and dishes and doing them right, as he says, doing them well. It doesn't have to be complex, it doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be good, and that's exactly what this is. So that the corn on the cob, for instance, is soaked in a mixture of milk and butter and salt and water, of course, and so it's not just corn and they boiled it or cooked it or whatever, and there it is. It's actually almost marinated in a mix that just makes it juicy and wonderful. And then there's a toppings bar of sorts for the corn, as well as, of course, baked potato. They've got a great sweet potato salad. The mac and cheese is wonderful, a blend of cheeses with a nice breadcrumb crust, and it just as you go through this side buffet of sides, it's just one after another that are simply delicious, and you could easily just fill up on those. Of course, you don't want to, because as soon as you order the buffet and you raise your little pig flag on the table, which indicates yes, bring the meat, and of course you can put that down at any time when you're starting to get overwhelmed. The servers will come around with these big skewers up to your table, and they bring out the best meats first. It's not like some of the Brazilian steakhouses or other similar concepts where they'll save the best stuff for the end because they want you to fill up on the not so great stuff first, so that you don't break the bank there. No, American Q wants to make sure you get your money's worth, and so they're going to bring the best stuff first, and the best one, in my opinion, definitely is their brisket, which is just so incredibly moist and juicy. And as they're carving it off the skewer, you're supposed to grab it with the tongs that they give you, and it's almost hard to grab because it's just falling apart as you're grabbing it, which is great. It's pretty fatty, which is a good thing when it comes to brisket. Not too fatty, but it gives it a lot of really great flavor. And the description really continues throughout all of their meats. There's 8 different meats that they bring around along with some veggies, and juicy and moist extends through all of them. They've got a bacon-wrapped chicken thigh, boneless chicken thigh. Sometimes, chicken can get overcooked pretty easily, but this is just incredibly moist and wonderful. There's a turkey leg, which is a really interesting flavor. It's very different from those served in Disney's parks. Has a nice glaze on the outside. I think it's a marmalade glaze, which it just gives the skin a nice both taste and texture. They've got a number of other different sort of, flank steak and other meats, and there's a pork that comes around, and it's just, every single one is just great. There were a couple that I wasn't as thrilled with. Fortunately, on the table, there are 4 different house-made sauces, barbecue sauces. The meats that come around are not heavily sauced. They've got a lot of dry rubs on it, a lot of flavor, certainly from the grill, from the fire, but definitely not heavily sauced, because you can do that yourself. And the 4 different sauces on the table, all 4 are incredible. They're kind of your 4 staples. 3 of them are kind of your staples of barbecue. There's, a Carolina and a Kansas City. There's also a mango that has a little bit of spice to it. And those are all, they're actually going to be bottling those soon and selling them separately, and I will buy them for sure, because they are excellent sauces. They could go on absolutely everything that you get, and really enhances the flavor. So the whole experience there with the buffet, you will leave completely full. You'll love it. They serve you, everybody gets cornbread, sort of a skillet cornbread with both a jalapeno butter and a honey butter that they make there as well. Everything is just wonderfully fresh and really, really delicious. Now, I haven't tried any of the a la carte options yet, though. From what I understand, the 24-ounce cowboy chop, which is a sous vide steak for like 5 hours, along with other flavors added after that, and the way they cook it and everything. Apparently, that's the highlight of the a la carte menu, so maybe we're going to have to get that next time I go there. But overall, the experience of dining is American Q. Very comfortable, very casual. You don't have to dress up by any means. It is a barbecue joint after all, but you'll just love it. If you want to see lots and lots of photos, you better be prepared to get hungry by looking at these pictures. Head over to InsideTheMagic.net. I've got my full review on there with lots and lots of photos and more information about how you can get there and even make reservations. Though right now, not too many people know about this restaurant. It is brand new, so when I was there, it was pretty empty. I have a feeling that's going to change as word spreads, because it is truly a fantastic barbecue restaurant, and I will definitely be going there quite often. And it's pretty easy to get to as well. I should note that valet parking when you dine there is free. So that's another excellent perk. So there it is, American Q at B Resort Orlando at Walt Disney World. And now I want want to introduce a new segment here on Inside the Magic. Over the years, we've had a lot of people, a lot of couples specifically, write in asking for tips on romantic things to do around the parks. Things that newlyweds or newly engaged or anniversary or just coming as a couple. Things to do that, doesn't involve kids, doesn't involve other people, just what two people as a couple can enjoy while in and around the parks. And I've offered a few suggestions over the years, but this week I'm bringing on a couple to talk about that very topic. So I'm going to introduce you to Bryce and Carly, or as we like to call, Carl and Ellie.
Good evening, all you Inside the Magic listeners. This is Bryce and Carly coming to you from Jackson, Mississippi. But when we appear here on Inside the Magic, I'll be Carl.
And I'll be Ellie.
That's right. And when we come to you every week, we're going to talk to you a little bit about loving at Disney World. Because we all know that we love Disney World. That's why we listen to this show. But do we really know how to love each other at Disney World while we're there? How many times, Carly, do we see people just not getting along at Disney World?
All the time.
Just about every trip, we see someone not getting along. So we're going to try to give you some tips to keep that love and romance alive while you're visiting the Magic. The Magic while you're at the Magic. Okay, that's a little cheesy, but I digress. Let's go ahead and talk about our topic for tonight. So, Carly, you want to share with the listeners? What is it?
We're going to talk about the best places at Walt Disney World that we think are good places to have a sunset stroll.
That's right, a sunset stroll. Walking hand in hand with your loved one while the sun's going down. And while you're hand in hand, maybe you have a churro or a turkey leg in the other, right?
Right.
Or in your case, it would be a Mickey bar.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
I know. So let's start off with our number one place to take a sunset stroll. You want to introduce it?
Our number one place, everybody, is the boardwalk.
The boardwalk, that's right. If you cross out of Epcot, about the International Gateway, go over to the Yacht and Beach Club, around Crescent Lake, over there by the boardwalk, it is the perfect place to walk hand in hand with your loved one. So, my favorite thing to do would be to stop by Beaches and Cream, maybe get an ice cream cone.
That's my favorite.
Okay, maybe it's your favorite. I inherited the love of ice cream from you. But walk around Crescent Lake, hand in hand with an ice cream in the other, and just enjoy the sights and sounds of Stormalong Bay, the large swimming pool there at Yacht and Beach Club, and also the sights and sounds of the boardwalk. Anything you want to add?
Also, while we're there, we also enjoyed listening and watching families and just seeing the interaction between the kids and their parents, and just see the kids even enjoy the times around the boardwalk.
That's right.
There's a lot to do around there.
There sure is, and they sometimes have like a Disney movie playing on the beach because they have a sand beach there. And if we're lucky, sometimes we see something going on at the gazebo over by the boardwalk where you might see a wedding or maybe a reception, something fun going on. There's always lots of excitement, and of course there's Atlantic Dance Hall there, and a lot of great places to have a nice date night. But we're talking about strolling, not eating. So let's move on to our number two.
Okay, you want to do number two?
Okay, so our number two place that we decided on that is our favorite is walking around World Showcase. And we're not talking about in the night when the flames are on and waiting for illuminations to start. We're talking about right at that magic time where the sun's going down, the sky's kind of pink and red and blue, and we are walking around through some of our favorite countries. And it's kind of the best of both worlds because you see what Epcot looks like in the day as well as see what it looks like at night.
That's right. And it's nice to be able to walk through the different countries and just, see all those different beautiful colors and beautiful architecture. And a lot of times there's still performers performing outside, and you smell a lot of different kinds of food as you're walking around, which is fun. But one of our favorite places to go is the France Pavilion.
That's right, the little cart on the outside, and grab us a Grand Marnier slush. Now, these slushes are for adults only, so you can only get one if you are 21 or older. But if you are, the Grand Marnier slush is a great refreshing drink to have, and we usually get the orange one. I think there's a lemon one as well, and you might even be able to get them non-alcoholic.
I think you can.
Yeah, so they run about $9 or even more, because I think we got a double last time.
Yeah, they make them bigger now, so you can get. The first time we had one was on our honeymoon, and so now since we've gone back, we got a bigger size this last time.
That's right, we upgraded, and so we enjoy walking around World Showcase with our Grand Marnier Slush. Very refreshing and nice to enjoy the sights and sounds. And like Carly was saying, the musicians are still performing sometimes, so we can see Mo Rockin' play, or we'll have Off Kilter doing their last show of the night. And it's just a great time because there's so much community out there. Lots of people still in Epcot waiting for the fireworks to get started, and just mulling around, talking and chatting with each other. And they're feeling a little better because it's not as hot.
That's right.
So you want to do our last one? This is our number 3.
Okay. Our number 3 is in Magic Kingdom, and it's actually a new area of Magic Kingdom called Fantasyland. It's the new Fantasyland.
That's right, new Fantasyland. Most people wouldn't think about it because you think, oh, well, it's going to be walking down Main Street or Frontierland, and those we really thought about. But these last couple times, we've really enjoyed being in the new area of Fantasyland over by Beast Castle and Belle's Village, and also Ariel, Journey of the Little Mermaid Under the Sea attraction. And I think it's really the rock work, the trees, and the waterfalls that really do it for me.
Yeah, and it's always fun to see a new area of Disney World, and so I think it's also just more enjoyable because it is new, and it's some of our favorite movies that are kind of portrayed around there, which helps the magic of the moment.
It does.
All the music playing from those movies as you walk by, and it just puts you almost in the movie.
That's right. And really, for Beauty and the Beast particularly, I love the queue line for the Under the Sea attraction with the waterfalls and such, the rock work, and that's nice, but you're kind of stagnant there. You're standing waiting in line. But walking around Belle's Village, you hear the piano versions of different songs, and you hear people enjoying themselves, and sometimes Gaston will be there, and that's always fun. But the music of Beauty and the Beast is so iconic, and you can hear that while the sun's going down, hand in hand with the screams from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in the background, kind of muted. It's such a great time to really enjoy the park together. So if you haven't tried that out, it's a really great option because it is so new and fun to be at. So I think that's all 3 of our favorite places to get a nice sunset stroll at Disney World. So did we say your favorite one? What do you think? Email Ricky over at Inside the Magic and give your feedback. We'd love to respond to some of that. And if you like our segment, you want to hear us back, then let him know that as well, because we'd love to talk more about our tips, because we got a lot of love to share, don't we, Ellie?
Yes, and if you have things that you want us to particularly focus on or talk about, then you can send those in too.
That's right. So thanks for tuning in this week to Carl and Ellie's Romance Tips. And always remember,
adventure is out there.
And it's time for us to take a sunset stroll with Doug.
Thanks very much, Carl and Ellie, or Bryce and Carly, for your romantic tips. Pretty soon we're going to be introducing some other new segments to this show, and every time I do that, I also want to call out to all of you listeners out there to send in your feedback. Let me know what you think about Bryce and Carly's segment, and if you want to hear more of them, hopefully you do. I enjoyed it. Please email your thoughts to Ricky at InsideTheMagic.net, and once again, thanks for your insight, Bryce and Carly.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Hey, look at that. Listener feedback, actually part of this week's show. I've been saying I wanted to catch up for quite some time. We've got plenty of time this week, so let's jump right into it with the first email from Brian, who writes, wondering if you could address the issue of Maelstrom rumors in an upcoming show. I'm panicking. Well, Brian, thanks very much for the email. Yes, there are certainly plenty of rumors out there that it's going to be consumed by Frozen, and Disney has said nothing of the sort. There definitely are signs that indicate that Maelstrom will be going away. This is at Norway at Epcot, of course. It seems that FastPass Plus availability stops. I think it's September 27th, and after that, there's nothing. If that means it's just a refurbishment or if Frozen truly is on the way remains to be seen. I haven't heard anything specific one way or the other, but given all of the hype surrounding Frozen, it really wouldn't surprise me if Norway became Frozen Land. What that would do for Epcot and the concept of the World Showcase, so that's another topic altogether, because certainly, having a circle almost of countries and culture and authenticity would be very different than throwing Arendelle and Frozen in there. But at the same time, you look at El Rio del Tiempo becoming the Gran Fiesta Tour and inserting the Three Caballeros in there, and that's not exactly authentic Mexican, though the rest of the pavilion still retains a lot of that feel. So I think it's a balance. And, if the whole area stayed Norway, but then Maelstrom specifically became Frozen, and somehow they linked it all together, with the trolls and all of that, I think it could work. And certainly Frozen would be a heck of a lot more popular than Maelstrom ever has been. So I don't have any concrete information to share other than my own opinion, which is to say that it would be a bad thing for the concept of Epcot, but a good thing for entertainment and the masses. So we'll leave it at that. Next email comes in from Jenny, who writes, "Love the podcast, and I'm so excited to have a question for you that hopefully will make it on." Well, here it is, Jenny. In 1997, my friends and I, three friends and I, went to Disney World, and we graduated high school. 10 years later, we returned, brought our husbands, and added the cruise. And while there, we said we were to return in 10 years again, this time with kids. Well, that will be in 2017, and we are at an impasse. Two families want to go to Disneyland, since we haven't been, and the other two families want to keep with tradition and feel there is more to do at Walt Disney World with Downtown Disney, the water parks, and many more hotels to choose from and better transportation options. There is a fifth family that we might be adding, and they are leaning more toward Walt Disney World also. But with this group, I'm thinking majority is not going to be the only way to convince people. Since you've been to both coasts many, many times, what do you and the listeners think is the better coast for a big group to go to? By 2017, we are looking at kids ages ranging from 2 to 12, and will all be 37-ish. Jenny, great question there, and I really do have an easy answer. Walt Disney World, especially, it wasn't clear if you were going to do another cruise or not. Obviously, if you come out here to Florida, that's the way to do that. But for such a large group, and I have a feeling that the whole group is not going to stay together the entire time, especially some of the older kids. I realize they're not teenagers quite yet, but it's going to be a thing where everybody's going to have their own opinions of what they want to do. And, Disneyland is lovely. I love it. California Adventure has really shaped up wonderfully. But it is 2 parks versus 4, and you mentioned all of that other stuff as well. And I don't know how many days you're coming, but you can certainly spread out a lot of a variety of entertainment over several days and appeal to everybody if you were to come out here to Walt Disney World. With that said, if your goal is to keep everybody together at all times, it might be easier to do that out in California because there are fewer options to disperse and do. So that could be a factor that the parents will want to take into account. So, but if I were to say, since you haven't been in 10 years, a lot has gone on, certainly out here in Florida in 10 years, and or will by another 3 years from now, 2017. And so I think you would find plenty to enjoy by then. So my answer is Walt Disney World, but you would not have a bad time at Disneyland at all. Next email is from Louisa, who writes, I've been a big fan of Inside the Magic for a very long time. Recently started listening to the podcast, and as an artist and huge Disney and Imagineering fan, it's always great to have an easy way to stay on top of everything that's happening in the theme park industry. I've read a lot of negative and positive comments about the new FastPass Plus system. Have to admit, I'm worried. My family is planning a trip to Walt Disney World next year, and we loved the old FastPass system and made great use of it. Oftentimes, we would have 5 Fast Passes a day for different parks. We always park hop, and it was really convenient and easy to use. Since I can only make it to Disney once every couple of years at best, I'm worried that my next trip will be spent getting worried about the new system. I don't like the idea of having to book things in advance when I don't even know where we're going to be at a certain hour. I have worked at Walt Disney World, and there have been many times, and have been there many times, so I know the parks very well, and that amount of planning seems a bit excessive. I'm also concerned about the internet connection and usage of the app, since I don't live in the States and have no internet access on my phone when I'm not in Canada. I've heard people saying that the new system is way better than the last if you're local, and you get to go many times a year since you can plan things in a more loose way for being close by. Anyway, I was wondering what you had to say about some of those concerns. Well, Louisa, your last one is the easiest one. You don't have to worry about cell phone charges, roaming charges, and all of that because there is free Wi-Fi throughout Walt Disney World. It's quite widespread, and it's pretty easy to use, so that is kind of they did that specifically so that everyone could hop onto this new system and not have a problem. So there's your answer for that. As far as the new system versus the old system, you just kind of have to throw away everything you knew about how you used the old system and go with a new approach. When you're planning your trip now using FastPass Plus, the goal is to try to identify for each day which park you think you're going to start the day in. And then you want to pick your top 3 things that you absolutely, definitely do not want to miss in that park, and then pick your times for that. Once you have done that, your flexibility comes once you show up. So at that point, if you decide you want to go to a different park that day, or you decide that you are at that park, but after you do those 3 things, you want to hop around, then you have the option to hop on your mobile device or go to one of those kiosks that are throughout the parks and make your changes from there. Now, the availability issue is certainly present for some of the more popular things, but it's only a select few, like meeting Anna and Elsa, for example, at Princess Fairy Tale Hall. For the most part, you'll be able to select options without too much difficulty, and as long as you book those sort of big name options well in advance, then you're not going to have a problem, hopefully, theoretically. So it's really just all about your change in approach. Don't think about it in the same way that you did with the old system, because you just kind of have to accept that the old system does not exist anymore, and you have to go about it in a completely different way. Next email is from Noah, who writes, I absolutely adore your show, and it is what I look forward to every week. It really makes me smile, so thank you. I just moved into college, and while my home is filled with Disney mania, there's very little magic at my dorm at the moment, and I was wondering if you had any tips, tricks, or ideas to add a little Disney magic to college life. Noah, I love this question, because I actually did just that when I went away to college. I grew up in South Florida, came to the parks at least once a year with trips with my family, and then went up to college in Atlanta, which no theme parks to be found. I mean, there's a Six Flags, sort of kind of close, and I went there a couple of times, just not the same. So in order to bring that to there, of course, you can decorate a dorm room, you can put up posters, you can watch YouTube videos and such. But what I found to be really fun, and of course this is going to date myself a little bit, this is 15 years ago, I had a portable CD player. This was before the iPod was invented, and I loaded it up with a mixtape of sorts of some of my favorite in-park songs, kind of a tour of different parks. I actually made a few different CDs, and so you can imagine doing a Main Street song, and then an Adventureland song, and then a Liberty Square song, etc., and load it up with all of that. And then when you're walking to and from class, which inevitably you do a whole lot when you're in college, fire that up, put on your headphones, and of course today you can use an iPod or whatever, your phone or whatever it is, and fire it up with some MP3s and just listen to that while you're walking around. And it kind of has the same feel to it, because if you think about it, when you're walking around a theme park, you're walking around a lot, and when you're walking to class, you're walking around a lot. And so hearing those sounds, and even if you want to pull up some of my old binaural recordings, with a lot of the ambient audio, it gives you the sort of that same kind of feel, because you're walking around and you're hearing those sounds, and it fits. Obviously, you're not actually in a park, but it works. It gives you sort of that little extra magic that you might think of. And it's, again, same with like this podcast. I get people writing to me all the time saying that they listen to this while they go on exercising, runs sort of thing. And it's a great way to sort of, bring that Disney magic to you wherever you are. Of course, listening to this podcast is another way of doing that as well. And there's a tremendous amount of other Disney podcasts out there that you could tune into also. So hopefully that helps a bit. Next email is from Deborah, who writes, the recent story of a person riding Mystic Manor over and over to stay warm reminded me of my cold day at Disney California Adventure. One January, I was sent to Anaheim for work and went down a day early to visit Disneyland, and after we finished the work a day early, I decided to spend another day at Disneyland. The previous day had been beautiful and warm. My hotel was about 2 miles from Disneyland. I set out early to walk into the park and buy my ticket so I could be there for rope drop. I had intended to carry my sweatshirt with me, but forgot it, and walking to the park was beautiful and sunny. While waiting for the gates to open, the fog rolled in, and it was chilly and stayed chilly all day. I was too stubborn to buy a sweatshirt. I've got a bunch, and I didn't want to waste any of my day walking back to the hotel and returning because I had to leave the park at about 6 p.m. anyway. You better believe I did every inside activity I could do. Aladdin, Animation Academy, Turtle Talk with Crush, etc. Deborah, yes, definitely a good excuse to do some of those longer inside attractions that you might otherwise skip because you want to do thrilling things, roller coasters, etc. Take advantage of the weather, and if you hate it, duck out of it and go enjoy some indoor things. It's a great idea. Next email is a series of questions that is always a helpful series, sort of tips for, well, I'm just going to read the email. Andrew writes, love your show, longtime listener. I have a question. I'm going to Disneyland and California Adventure for the first time in August. And of course, this is an late email, as tends to happen when I'm not on top of the email, so I apologize, Andrew, for not answering you in time, but hopefully your questions will help out some other people. He continues, I'm a Disney World veteran and wanted to know how Disneyland varied with, number 1, what are the crowds like in August? Number 2, can I see everything in 2 days? Number 3, what is it in comparison to Disney World? Number 4, what are some good places to eat? Number 5, what are the must-see shows? And number 6, how do the ride lines vary? Well, let's run through these real fast. Number 1, crowds in August. Well, it's kind of the same as crowds any other time at Disneyland. It's crowded pretty much every day of the year now at Disneyland. There really is no off-season, in August particularly so. So I would expect it to be crowded. Number 2, can I see everything in 2 days? I wouldn't say everything, but the vast majority of things, yes. Number 3, what is it in comparison to Disney World? It's different, it's smaller, it's quaint, it's original, it's 2 parks instead of 4, it's still got downtown Disney, it's got some lovely hotels, though not nearly as big or as many of them, and it's a wonderfully fun time. Number 4, good places to eat, certainly Carthay Circle over at California Adventure, the Blue Bayou, Cafe Orleans, yeah, those are the ones that I always go to right off the top of my head. Number 5, what are the must-see shows? Certainly Aladdin over at California Adventure. The Soundsational Parade, if you count that as a show. And I'm not big on shows, so I'm just going to stop my list right there. World of Color. And number 6, how do the ride lines vary? They vary a lot. Radiator Springs Racers finally seems to be coming down a bit in the supremely long lines that it used to draw. But you'll find quite a variation throughout the day. Sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short. So hopefully that's vaguely helpful. Next email comes in from Melanie from St. Petersburg, Florida, who writes, thank you for doing a great show every week. It's so much fun to hear about all of the unique and first-hand experiences you get to participate in for both Inside the Magic and Outside the Magic, and I'm also very excited to see the 2014 Radley Haunted House. I'm writing to ask if you heard any news regarding the alternate reality game, The Optimist. I've read that the release date for the related movie Tomorrowland has been postponed to mid-2015. I was so hoping we could get another round of the game this summer. Have you heard any news? Well, Melanie, number 1, yes, please do come out and check out the Radley Haunted House in October. In fact, just yesterday we had a great first meeting with some of our cast and crew. All got together down in St. Petersburg, got to walk around the haunt under construction. It's all coming together very, very well. Let me go ahead and say thank you once again to everybody who supported our Kickstarter project. Those funds are being used very wisely and very well, and they're helping tremendously to put together together what is shaping up to be a fantastic experience. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, visit radleyhaunt.com. That's RADLEY haunt.com, and check out our haunted house that we are building down in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is just outside Tampa, that Melanie is excited about and will definitely visit. So we're looking forward to seeing you there, Melanie. But anyway, to answer your question, The Optimist, I have not heard anything about recently. Had a lot of fun when it was going on, certainly. Tomorrowland is quite a ways away, as you mentioned. And I hope that it'll ramp up again when the movie is getting closer. But I don't know. I don't know if it was a successful endeavor for Disney or not. Didn't really hear anything after the fact. It kind of just stopped and died. And pushing the date back, I'm sure, didn't help their grand plans if they had any. So maybe I'll follow up with some of the folks who were behind that and see if they're planning on doing anything at any point. Of course, they'll probably just give me a vague response, because Disney never likes to reveal anything before they're ready. And when they're ready, they do. So, no, I don't hear... I have not heard anything, unfortunately. A couple of more emails before we wrap this up. Matthew writes in and says, I am new to the podcast world and have quite enjoyed your show. My wife and I are planning a trip to Walt Disney World, but can't get there until early January. Do you know how long the Christmas activities continue? Specifically, the lights on the castle at the Magic Kingdom, the Christmas treats at Epcot, and the Osborne family lights. Well, Matthew, this you're certainly going to enjoy it, whatever you do see, but it does vary from year to year. Some of that stuff, Disney doesn't really set a specific date. It's things that they just sort of pull down little by little. Some of it they do set specific dates. So the Osborne lights usually have specific run dates. I don't know off the top of my head. I probably should have researched that before answering your questions, but you can definitely find it just by searching on Google. But you know, things like just general Christmas decorations and Christmas music usually will extend for a couple of weeks into January as they slowly pull everything down, and they realize some people's vacations trickle over into January as well. So if you are going right at the beginning of January, you will definitely get to see quite a lot of that. If you're going, mid to late January, it'll be gone by then. So I would check Disney's calendars, look for the dates of when those shows are going to be ending, and that'll give you a good idea for when exactly and what exactly you'll be able to see. Next is an email from Jillian, who writes, my husband and I have been planning what equates to a second honeymoon at this fall at Walt Disney World, and we've been to Disney numerous times over the years and are interested in some of the different non-ride/attraction experiences that the world has to offer. We're both fans of Walt and Disney history and trivia. We've spent numerous days at the Walt Disney Family Museum, always walk through One Man's Dream, and have read bios, and I'm wondering what you or your listeners could tell us about the Walt Disney World tours, Keys to the Kingdom, Backstage Magic, etc. Are they worth the extra expense and 5+ hours? Will these experiences be redundant to somebody in the know? Jillian, good question. And to answer your question, yes, they're worth it, and yes, they will be slightly redundant. The Keys to the Kingdom one in particular, if you know a lot about the history of the parks and backstage areas, even without having been there, you know kind of what goes into it and how it was all created and everything. There's going to become points in the tour where the tour guide is going to stop and ask you trivia questions, and you're going to be that person in the crowd that knows every answer. It's bound to happen, and they'll give you a sticker the first couple of times, and after that they'll start to give you dirty looks because you need to give everybody else a chance to answer. No, I'm not saying you'll do that, but it is all too tempting, of course, to answer every single question. But yes, informationally, you might you'll still learn some things, especially if you have not been on such a tour before, especially when you go down into the utilidors, underneath the Magic Kingdom. It's a fun experience there. I would recommend it just for that, if you haven't done a lot of backstage stuff. If somehow you have been backstage and you've seen a lot of that already, then maybe it wouldn't entirely be worth it. Now, Backstage Magic, on the other hand, goes even further than just the Magic Kingdom. There's a lot more to it. I actually have not done that one, but I've always been intrigued by it, particularly the Epcot side of things, which I have not seen a lot of what is on that tour. In all of the vastness of what I've done over the years, I haven't actually done that one. So, yes, you will enjoy those as a die-hard Disney fan. Just don't expect to be completely wowed with knowledge that you don't know already, because chances are you'll know a good percentage of it. Next email is from Jim from Pennsylvania, who writes, now that Diagon Alley has been open for a little while, what do the lines/area look like throughout the day? I saw a lot of news coverage through the first week or two, but nothing since. Jim, good question. Things are sort of dying down over there. The Escape from Gringotts ride, depending on the day, depending on the time, is still drawing tremendous crowds, lines of several hours long. There have been sort of intermittent times when randomly it seems the line is really short, and really is a relative term. Could be 45 minutes to an hour or more. There is a single rider line as well that goes a bit faster, and you still get to see everything that is going on in there. But the rest of the area, however, you won't have a problem. You don't have to wait to get into London or Diagon Alley and the stores and all of that. There's no issues whatsoever on there. Really, it's just the Escape from Gringotts ride that you may end up waiting a couple of hours to get into. Next email is from Natalie, who writes, my fiance and I are honeymooning at Walt Disney World. Wow, this is an old email. Once again, sorry, Natalie, for taking forever to get to this. I didn't realize I was quite this far behind, but let's go for it anyway. She writes, my fiance and I are honeymooning July 3rd through 9th, 2014. Yeah, like 2 months ago. This is our second time to Walt Disney World, and we've been enjoying listening to your podcast ever since planning our first trip back in 2011, and I read the crowd levels on July 4th are crazy in the parks, especially at the Magic Kingdom. We plan to start touring the Magic Kingdom early in the day and would like to take a midday break at our resort hotel and return to the Magic Kingdom late in the afternoon. Do we run the risk of the park being full and not being readmitted? Well, Natalie, you've probably figured it out already, and I apologize for getting back to you so late, but for those of you who are planning a 4th of July celebration at Disney next year, when you're at a Disney hotel at Walt Disney World, and Natalie did say in her email that she'll be at the French Quarter, you run much less of a risk because those are the last groups to be denied entrance if you're staying on property. So, as long as you don't get there right before the end, I think you'd have a good chance of being able to get in. Sometimes it does fill up, but by the end of the day, a lot of people give up and leave, and it usually reopens. So that's your planning for next year's 4th of July. So, yeah, I'm going to try to read those emails sooner from now. Let's just move on to the next one, which is from Matthew, who writes, greeting from London, England. My wife and I are going to LA. We're going to take part in a Run Disney half marathon in 2 weeks. We're staying off property at the Wyndham Garden Grove, researching tickets and passes. And can you explain the pros and cons of the Magic Bands, My Magic Plus, and if we can get away with 1 park per day, 2-day pass? Well, that's sort of a lot of questions there. Magic Bands and My Magic Plus, to explain in short, are just things to help you with your trip, to help manage your rooms while you're staying in Wyndham Garden Grove, so it's not even going to apply to that. You're staying off property. So really on property, you're just going to be using it for, you could link a credit card to it, make purchases that way. You can just use it for your fast passes to make those reservations in advance on the MyDisneyExperience.com website. Can you get away with 1 park per day? Sure, if you only want to see 1 park per day. There are 4 parks, though, so you'll be missing out. But with a 2-day pass, you certainly could see 1 park in one day and 1 park in another, and if that is good enough for you, then that works out. And we've reached the hour mark of the show, so that'll do it for listener feedback this week. I didn't quite catch up, so I will continue to go through those in the coming weeks and hopefully catch up there and not read any more emails that are like 2 months old. So, yeah, that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
Tomorrow.
And here we are at the end of show 491. Hopefully you enjoyed our new Walt Disney World Romance segment earlier. Again, please send me your feedback. Let me know what you thought of it, and we can tweak it. We can have more of it. We can have less of it. We can have none of it. Let me know, and we'll see where that goes from there. And as I said, I'm going to try to be adding more sort of other voices to the show, more segments in the near future. Try to break it up a bit and bring more variety to this podcast, so you can look forward to that in the coming weeks, definitely head out to that American Q restaurant that I talked about earlier. It is delicious. Head over to our website to see more about that as well. And in the coming weeks, naturally, officially starting tomorrow, Halloween season begins at the theme parks. And while I know some of you are rolling your eyes thinking, why Halloween 2 months before the actual holiday? And it's because it's Halloween. And I'm not going to go crazy talking about it on here because, yes, I am. No, I'm going to talk about the theme park side of Halloween, certainly in the coming weeks, talk about Mickey's Not So Scary, and a lot of it over on InsideTheMagic.net as well. But as far as a lot of the independent attractions, the stuff that is outside the theme parks, well, naturally, that's what I started Outside the Magic for. And I've got this notion of perhaps creating a new sort of spin-off podcast for some of that stuff, shorter episodes, sort of little one-off ones. I don't know. I'm still playing with that idea. So if you are, Halloween nut like me and want to hear me go on endlessly about other experiences, stay tuned. Maybe I'll have some more of that. And even if I don't get around to doing that podcast, certainly over on OutsideTheMagic.com, as we're going to be posting a lot of that in the coming weeks. And it's going to be, I'm going to be visiting more haunted attractions than ever before. And then, of course, I've got the Radley Haunted House that I talked about just a little while ago. My own haunted house down in St. Petersburg. Well, it's not mine. It's really Cody Meacham's haunted house that I am working with him to create this year. And it's been a tremendous amount of fun working on it so far. And hopefully any of you who are coming out to this area, or if you live in the area, you're going to be able to check it out. And I'll be sharing a lot more from that in the coming weeks as well. So I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of the show. Check them out at magicaltravel.com. And thanks to all of you for listening each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Just a dream away.